Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Championship Leadership Podcast. And we got Brandon Chrostowski here from Cleveland, Ohio. Thanks, Brandon, for taking some time today.
Oh, Nate, it's my pleasure.
Um, so I was referred to you from a good friend of mine and a client out in California, and that's how we came across you and reached out to have you on the show. Before we get too deep into you and your story, I do like to ask, the Championship Leadership's the name of the podcast. So what comes to mind for you, or what do you think of when you hear championship leadership?
What do I think of? I think of sacrifice. I think of grit. I'll say sacrifice again.
Yeah.
Championship it's not easy, right? Especially if you're
Yeah.
going to be the leader, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I like that. And that seems to fall in line with what I can tell. You are all about absolutely sacrifice and grit with what you guys got going on with Edwins leadership and restaurant. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more, the listeners that haven't heard of you, like a little bit of your backstory and how that brings you to what you're doing today and what you're up to.
Yeah, for sure. So Edwins, right? Its formal name is Edwins Leadership and Restaurant Institute. So what is it's a restaurant and a school. Think fine dining French, the duck, the frog legs, foie gras, we've got it all. And this is set in Cleveland, Ohio. Open to the public, just like any other normal restaurant would be. The twist of this is when I began it as a school and a restaurant. And the staff are essentially students, both kitchen and dining room, coming home or out of or somehow involved in the criminal justice system, right? So it's a place where people come to seek a real second chance. Along with this, we've got 4 buildings for housing, so 2 apartment buildings, family house, graduate housing. It's equivalent of about 45 beds. So one of the biggest difficulties in coming home is finding good, secure, safe housing. So we've got that. Also nestled there is our campus. So we've got a fitness center, a library, basketball court, which is outdoors, right? We've got a park, a garden, you name it. It's just this place where someone can come and get a real second chance and begin again, right? Along with like-minded people. We also have a butcher shop and bakery. So what we do is pretty thorough. It's become the national model when you talk reentry or social enterprise. And of course, we hit hard in prisons nationwide. So that's another part of what we do. But that's Edwins, it's this idea that there's hope and a way to achieve it.
Edwins, where's that name come from?
My middle name is Edwin. So I've
Okay.
always wanted a restaurant called Edwins. The other half of it is when I was writing this plan about 18 years ago, I said, well, if I capitalize it all, we could say it's education wins, right? And I get the
Okay.
best,
Okay.
I get the best
Yeah.
of both worlds. So we know what it is, we know what it stands for, and where it comes from. But it's a lot of different worlds in those letters.
Yeah, absolutely. I was curious because I did see it all capped, and I was thinking it was some kind of an acronym or something. But yeah, thank you for that. So I know you part of your story is facing a judge, facing potentially 10 years in prison, and I guess in a way getting a second chance. Is that kind of what you looked in? And I know you reference and um, you know, basically you just got 10 years of your life back, and it seems like you wanted to take full advantage of that, right?
Exactly, that's what it is. Having that, you don't know what it is, Nate. I mean, now you see what it is. I guess as you get
Yeah.
older, you see even more what it is. But at 17, 18, you know, the gift of probation instead of prison time is this. Hey, I got a break, right? I mean,
Yeah.
but as I grew older, I realized as people were passing or putting it in prison, um, it was really borrowed time I got, and I just wanted to make sure on that borrowed time I did anything and everything I could to become the best, and that put me from New York to Chicago to Paris and just really learning those skills, but then ultimately one day wanting to give that back now, and that's really where the heart of this, because it was my life and I had a mentor and I had that break, start to come to a head to say, how could I share? How could I share?
Yeah. who speaking of the mentor, because I think that's when I talk about championship leadership, I'm always interested in who some of the mentors or coaches or leaders are that have impacted the guests, and a little bit more so of like, what are some of the characteristics that really have stood out from those people that have helped you?
Yeah, and there's a few. So I'd say, to quickly say, the first mentor, the one who really took me under his wing after I got granted probation, was a very hard, very good French chef, and he taught me it's not practice that makes perfect, but perfect practice that makes perfect. He was all about teaching fundamentals, right? He said, you got these tools, you can do anything anywhere. Really, it was incredible, and that's what A, gave me the confidence, but B, helped me navigate all these places where even I didn't speak a language. That was Chef George in Detroit. I worked under Charlie Trotter, who was in Chicago, and he was a real he was all about psychology, really immensely building you up through this thing called a restaurant. And he really taught me you can make it happen with what you have. And I mean, you think about the coaches, you think about any coach that has become great, whatever the sport is, and you can really tell their greatness because the people that have gone through their program in some capacity are now doing great things in the same area.
Yeah.
And that's Charlie Trotter, man. You look at all the people that came through his kitchen, they're doing something, right? He did something to you mentally that believed you could handle it. I mean, those are two of the biggest mentors. And probably the third one was in New York, the Karen and David Waltuck, who, really gave me confidence that and belief that, you got this dream, well, do it. Like, come on, like you could do it. And they gave me the keys to manage a New York fine dining restaurant. I mean, like that was fun at 23, 24 to be able to have that trust.
That's something I think I want to talk a little bit more about is what you're doing is so incredible and it's so unique. And then in the beginning, it's just a thought and an idea, right? And then you go out and you actually make it work. And now we can look today at where you're at and be like, man, he did it. But I'm sure there were a lot of maybe questions of whether you could along the way. There was a lot of bumps and roadblocks, but things that you've obviously continued to navigate through. I think championship leaders, like you said, the greats, again, going back to that sport analogy, Bill Belichick or Nick Saban in football, like they just continue to find a way to rise to the top because they can see things that other people can't. They're competing against the best in the world, continue to find a way to make it happen. So how did you take this dream, this thought, and this vision and put it into a reality was there anything else out there that you were kind of modeling this after? I haven't heard of anything quite like what you're doing. So curious to hear that too.
Yeah. I mean, at the time there wasn't, I mean, like it took a good decade, good solid 10 years to put the plan to the, inception to the opening together. It took some time and there was never a doubt that it was possible, right? I always knew it was possible. It was just navigating life's, challenges, right? And I think you hit it on the head with a lot of people that continue to get it done at the highest level and always find a way. This thing's an art, it's not a science, right? And there's what maybe perhaps someone else can see that it's on a higher level is the fact that it's possible. And then just using their body and mind to navigate the current conditions to get to that goal. Some people who don't think it's possible, well, how, you're navigating, what are you navigating? You're navigating, something that's not going to happen. So I suppose maybe you're not using all your senses and all that you're given to get through that and succeed. But like, I knew it was possible, right? It's just about all right, how am I someone would tell me one thing, I go to the next move, sooner or later, you just get it done. And, I'll never forget a picture in 6th grade we had to draw was a circle with straight lines. Like if you draw enough straight lines, you can draw a circle, like a perfect circle. Now it's a pain in the ass and kind of stupid, right? But
yeah,
it gave me the thought, like, it doesn't matter. If I ask 500,000 people for $1, I'm going to have enough money to open, right? I was thinking like that. So you got to see that it's possible and you got to know everything is going to work out. Now just figure out how to get there.
Yeah. What's why Edwin's leadership? Like, what, because you were you're fairly young when this came about, right? And I don't know, it's interesting to me because I don't think a lot of people put a big focus on leadership. But where did that emphasis come from to put it actually in the name of what you're doing?
That's a good question, man. It's been so long ago that, I mean, I just know that leadership is really important. I've seen it even young in my career, like when I wrote the business plan for this, I was 24, but I can tell you from 18 to 24, being in Paris or Southern France or New York or Chicago, there's a constant thread of excellence, right? At this level of restaurants, you're talking the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's leadership, period, point blank. It's leadership. Nothing happens without that strong leader, sacrificing to make sure that the standard is met, making sure that if you don't have what you need to get it done, they're going to figure out a way to help you, figure that out to get it done. The constant presence, the hours, just simply being present. People forget the idea of presence.
Mm-hmm.
Great leadership isn't coming in and giving a speech and leaving. It's working with someone in those moments. They see you, and this all adds to the credibility of your message. Leadership without leadership is done, which is kind of funny. Now, this many years later, I'll go around consulting, right? People say, "Hey, it's a great idea, fantastic," and they say, "I got all this money, and we've got this space." And I say that, look, that's great. I say, "Who's your leader, or what's your team of leadership look like?" Well, we're searching for that. I said, "Look, when you find that, you call, okay? All the money." Nate, this. There's so much billions of dollars in the world. They still can't solve all the problems, right? They still can't solve inequality. They still can't solve poverty.
Mm-hmm.
It's leadership, and it takes sacrificial leaders. So that's why we underscore that. I really want to put leaders out of here first, and good cooks second, and chefs second, because you can lead in your community, your workplace, your family, and I think you have a lot stronger life.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, I've been saying that a lot lately. It just seems like now almost more than ever. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it feels that way. Like we need more leaders, today than we ever have with everything that's going on, or that's the feel or sense that I have. So I think it's incredible what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
What is your, it seems like your vision continues to expand and grow, just to kind of look at your story from where you started to where you are today, from the restaurant to, you have apartments, you have a butcher shop, you got classes in prisons. And so, what is your vision, grand vision, maybe even in the shorter term, 5 years from now, and more so again, like what's the impact that you want to make from that?
Yeah, I mean, the whole reason to start this was to change the face of reentry, right? To change the perception that society has on the way that a returning citizen is looked at, right? And it's going to take lifetimes. I'm not delusional in being like, it's going to happen this lifetime. It's not,
Mm-hmm.
which is, the structure of this will be carried on forever. But the short-term goal is to continue to exercise this idea that we are better than good, right? This is excellence. If you come here to dine, like people, I don't put posters that say, "Hey, we're a nonprofit," or "Hey, help this charity." It's a restaurant. And most people come in here and it's like they're coming here because it's the best French restaurant, and they happen to find out there's a mission behind it.
Yeah.
That's when you start to spin heads where someone says, "Wait, I had this idea of someone who was coming out of prison, and now that is in fact not true because I'm feeling it firsthand." That's just going to take a whole lot of diners, but greatness resonates. It goes so high. I remember in France, people would they would hop on a train or a plane from the United States, and then get to a train, and then take a cab to a donkey and up a hill to try the best lobster bisque. I mean, as humans, we're always going to seek out excellence.
Yeah.
We need to keep doing that here to change the face. That's a constant. Beyond that, it's about reach. We just have to keep putting a seed of hope here, a seed of hope there. And with the visibility and media that we usually attract, that helps. It helps families, it helps sons, it helps daughters and wives and mothers and to believe that the person they love who's maybe going through this can do it. Okay, so that hope. And then in prisons where it's the darkest of dark, those tablets, we're on the cusp of this thing exploding to maybe 500,000 or plus tablets by year end. That's a 500,000 people who can watch a cooking
Oh,
class.
yeah.
But not only that, come to Cleveland to achieve the goal, right? There's this idea about goals and having dreams, but how the heck am I going to become an astronaut? The pathway is not easy. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. We have no barriers. We help pay for your travel to get here because the Cleveland Browns said they would, right? We got community partners who want to see this. We've got staff who are fired up about it, and that's where the vision's going, right? That's where the vision's going, and just it's a day at a time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. What's well, I know you said you do some consulting, or the more success you have, the more attention you get, and probably
Sure.
the more people want your energy. But do you put thought into, like, how much can I put outside of what I'm doing, or would my focus be to really be right where I'm at here, and just give everything I have to here to really get the biggest impact outside?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Yeah, it's a little bit of both. It's got to be. I look at everything centralized. So I live 2 blocks from the restaurant. The campus is 2 blocks from the restaurant. So within 90 seconds to 2 minutes, I can get anywhere, anyhow. I mean, I can touch the butcher shop, the bakery, come to the restaurant, go to the restaurant across the street. We can get it all touched. I guess I put the kids to bed, get back here. It's all centralized and built so that it's sustainable. It's not like a sprawled out enterprise, right? So that was number one, being able to touch everything and keep that going. Uh, but yeah, I don't want another restaurant outside of here. We've opened 2 others to consult with, and people run them. But if you start spreading yourself with other places at a greater distance,
Yeah.
it's inevitably going to fail. But helping people achieve their goals, and maybe taking some of our graduates who are trained to help them, run with it.
Mm-hmm.
These are opportunities we're creating,
Yeah.
helping someone do it, and they're running with the ball, right?
Yeah.
So it's got to be a little bit of both.
Makes sense.
Otherwise, it's not going to work. It's not going to
Yeah.
spread. Put it
Right.
that way.
Yeah. Yeah. What is, and maybe you've already mentioned it, but I think we all have many of these moments in our life. But what's a critical moment, kind of a fork in the crossroads for you? I always ask this question because I think, especially nowadays, the past 2 years have been difficult for many. We find ourselves in these moments, and it's always a hard spot for many to decide which way to go. And I think there's a lot of power in hearing others and how they chose in those moments. So obviously you made the decision you did that has you where you are today, but is there a moment you can share what's kind of where that critical moment in your life, and how that got you to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so first of all, man, Yogi Berra said it best, dude. When there's a fork in the road, you take it.
I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
take the fork in the
right.
road. I mean, like, I think it was he summed it up right. There wasn't like these, like Hollywood couldn't cast this and say there's this pivotal moment where it's I have to do it now, and there's this whole see. First of all, it's got to do with mindset and where you're at that moment, right?
Yeah.
But there was a constant mindset that I don't know. I feel a lot when I see people, right? That might be one of the gifts that I have is I can feel emotions pretty well. And when you feel disappointment, or you feel joy or excitement or love or whatever it may be, I feel that constantly every night with the restaurant, right? And my feeling in 2012, 13, that's when I left. I just left my job and some work.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't want to die disappointed that I never tried this dream I had in my head. And the more people I would talk to, they may have not said it, but you could feel it, that they missed something. They missed out on an opportunity they're going to live with until they're dead. I don't want to be on my deathbed saying, if I would have took that chance, who knows what would have happened. It haunted me, Nate. I mean, it wouldn't get out of my head. I said, either I'm going to live with this nightmare of not doing it, or I'm going to take the leap and do this damn thing. Now, granted, I had it planned pretty well. I had some momentum. It was like, it doesn't just happen like I wake up and have this feeling and just jump. I mean,
Right.
there's 9 years of work into this thing, right? And it was building. But I had to take the leap. And I think that's where a lot of people start to, they're losing because they're not taking that leap. Now, granted, you have to be prepared. It takes time. Don't just jump, but you're going to have to jump. And I tell it to all these young entrepreneurs who will come through, or we'll talk, we'll get on the phone, and they'll have a business plan, really nice, very formal. They'll have this team around them that is real and legit. You know, they got a sexy brand, and they're you know, they got it together, incorporate it. You know, they've invested in taking up space in our world with the incorporation. It's a reality, but they suck at doing it now.
Yeah.
You gotta do it now. And it can't be this pristine, pretty, like things laid out. We're so cerebral with this. Dude, I started in a prison teaching men with a notebook and a paper. And that was when I started doing it. And I made it vulnerable to the world to say it's going to work or not going to work. And then that built to equipment, and then that built to the program. Then it built into the outside restaurant, which was the vision. But if you don't jump and do it now, that's where it's going to sit forever and ever.
That's pretty incredible. Like, you had the awareness to know that, hey, I don't want to be 70, 80 years old and have this huge regret for not ever going after that thing. And then also the awareness to know, like, hey, I just got to move, and I can't wait for it to be perfect, because then I'll never get started. And how old were you when you took that leap?
30. Well, we've been open 9-10 years. Yeah, about 31, 32.
So pretty young, right? I look back to my 30-year-old self. I'm like, man, I thought I had it figured out, but I didn't know anything. I have 45 now. I'm like, and you know, hopefully I'll continue that mindset. But yeah, that's incredible. As we start to wrap this up, I definitely want to respect your time. I know you're busy. So
Sure.
What is, you know, if there's one or two things outside of what we've already talked about that, you know, if the listeners listening today and were to take and put into action today for themselves, it would help move their life forward, what would that be for them?
Well, I think, again, it's mindset, right? It's mindset and vision, what you're visualizing, and then your approach to get there, right? So if you get to have a mindset, say it's you want to learn a new language, great. Now you got to visualize yourself in that country speaking to that, you know, that language, and now let's work backwards on how to get there, and not be afraid to, you know, ask someone, hey, what's the best book, or then start speaking casually with someone who's a fluent speaker, right? I mean, every day. I guess what I would say is this: the attributes to become a great leader are learned. Okay, there's this nature versus nurture debate.
Yeah.
You can learn to be courageous. It's about, you know, making a stand or taking a stand on something that's right and just, and then little by little you get this you know, courage builds. You can build empathy. You can build, these are learned traits, and I would just say that it's not impossible. Just visualize it and then do the things that you hope that would make you that leader, and it can happen. I suppose that's probably the best way to sum it up, is you can still learn these things. You know, you're not born with them. You didn't have to be that star quarterback in high school. It'll all come at different times, and your perspective is special. So cherish wherever you came from.
Absolutely. Yeah. Love that. What are a few ways for people to learn more about what you're doing? And I don't know, you know, potentially even to just continue to follow a story in the journey and help out if, you know, if there's an opportunity to do so.
Oh, for sure. That's a great question. Look at the website. Everyone's on the web now. If you know, edwinsrestaurant.org, right? Edwinsrestaurant.org will give you all the information. I would encourage you, right, like the CBS This Morning clip, like, right, you know, that was a good 7-minute piece that captures what we do in and out of prison. There's a documentary called Knife Skills, right? Knife Skills, that went to the Oscars, right? It's a 40-minute short. If you want to watch something powerful that you know, went to the Academy Awards, it's about the founding of this, the opening of this, that was 2018. You can check it out, right? I mean, there's things that you don't have to even move to understand. Right. Just watch it. And then there's two things you can do from there, right? One, you can help us spread our branches, right? We're trying to help as many people nationwide to understand there's a second chance you can take. I'll be in LA and Orange County on Sunday consulting with them. I'll be back in New York on the week after. It's just about wherever you're at, it can happen. So keep us in mind. Of course, you can always contribute to what we do. But the second thing, the most powerful thing, is you can start using your voice to champion second chances. And it all simply is going to the place that you patronize. a dry cleaners, a church, a grocery store, and say, hey, Joe, do you hire people with second chances coming out of prison? And let them speak. And if everyone in the country do that to the business owner, that business owner might say, damn it, I need to start thinking about hiring someone with a second chance.
Yeah.
We can make a difference on a daily basis as long as we just use our voice.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. We'll definitely get all that linked up too, so that listening, you can click that in the show notes. Brandon, thank you so much for being here. Really was an incredible conversation. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Nate.